We all know human rights are universal, right? They're for everyone, no matter who you are or where you're from. But what happens when someone is locked away? Do those rights just disappear behind the bars? That's a huge question, and today we're going to dive into a powerful set of international standards that tries to answer it. All right, let's kick things off with this quote from Nelson Mandela. And it's more than just a quote, right? It's a challenge. He's basically saying, you want to know what a country's really like? Don't look at the rich and powerful. Look at how they treat the most vulnerable. And for Mandela Man, this wasn't some abstract idea. This was his life. Because let's be real, this is the harsh truth for so many. For countless people, prison isn't a place for reform. It's just survival. This picture here, it gives you just a tiny glimpse of that reality. A reality that's a world away from the dignity Mandela was fighting for. Okay, so that brings up a big question. Why are these rules, these really important standards for prisons, named after him? Well, to get that, you have to look at his journey. And what a journey it was, from a prison cell all the way to the president. Just take a look at this timeline, 27 years. Think about that for a second. Almost 3 decades of his life gone. And why? For fighting against the brutal system of apartheid. He lived it. He saw the failures, the abuses, he saw it all firsthand. So his struggle, it wasn't just about freeing South Africa. It ended up shining this massive spotlight on the rights of prisoners all over the world. And this is exactly why his fight is still so important. Check out this number, 11.5 million. That's how many people were in prison worldwide back in 2022. I mean, to put that in perspective, that's more people than live in the entire country of Belgium. The scale of it is just, it's mind-boggling. And within that huge system, the problems are, well, they're exactly what you'd fear. We're talking about crazy overcrowding, not having clean water or enough food, being denied basic health care. But here's the thing you really got to understand. These problems don't just stay locked up. Nope. They create huge risks, like disease outbreaks that eventually spill over and affect all of us. So, okay, we've got this massive global crisis. What's the plan? What's the solution? How do you even begin to build a system that's fair and works? Well, the good news is the international community actually got together and came up with a blueprint. And that blueprint is what we now call the Nelson Mandela Rules. The UN officially adopted them back in 2015. Now, they're actually an update to some standards that have been around since like 1955, but naming them after Mandela, that was a really powerful way to honor his legacy and everything he fought for. All right, so let's get into what these rules are all about. The whole thing is pretty detailed. We're talking 122 rules in total. But don't worry, they all boil down to 5 main ideas, 5 guiding principles. You can kind of think of them as the foundation for everything else. So, let's break them down. First up, humane treatment. Simple, right? Every prisoner is a human and deserves dignity. Period. Second, non-discrimination. The rules have to apply to everybody, no exceptions. Third is one I find fascinating, normalization. The goal here is to make life inside prison as close as possible to life outside, so people are actually ready to rejoin society. Then, of course, you've got safety and security for everyone involved, inmates and staff. And last but not least, tailored rehabilitation, giving people real skills to build a new life when they get out. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds good for the prisoners, but why should I care? And that's a fair question. But the thing is, the real impact of these rules isn't just felt inside the prison. It's felt by all of us out here. Because when you apply these principles, you actually end up with a safer, healthier society for everyone. This image here is a perfect way to picture it. It's like a ripple effect. You see, treating people with dignity isn't a limited resource. When you treat prisoners like human beings, the good that comes from that doesn't just stop at the prison gate. It flows right out into the community. Let's get specific, though. How does this actually work? Well, when rehabilitation is effective, guess what? Reoffending rates go down. That means safer communities for you and me. When sanitation and healthcare in prisons get better, it stops diseases from spreading outside. That protects public health. And when inmates can stay in touch with their families, it strengthens those community bonds. Oh, and get this, it even makes financial sense. It cuts down on the insane amount of money that incarceration costs families and government. Okay, so this all sounds great on paper, right? But is anyone actually doing this stuff? Is it just a nice idea? Well, the answer is a big yes. Let's take a look at how UN peacekeeping missions are putting these rules into action in some of the toughest spots you can imagine. For example, let's head to South Sudan. Conflict and overcrowding there have created really bad food shortages in prisons. So what did the UN mission do? They helped the inmates start their own prison farms. And this is so cool because it's not just about getting more food on the table. It's about teaching real, practical farming skills they can actually use to find a work once they're released. And don't just take my word for it. Listen to this quote from an inmate there, Jakor Kuran. He says the farm gives them hope for rebuilding their lives. Wow. That just says it all, doesn't it? It shows you that this is about so much more than punishment. It's about giving people a future. And this kind of thing is happening in a lot of places. Over here in the Central African Republic, a UN mission is focused on helping women prisoners get ready to rejoin their communities. And on the other side, in Kosovo, there's a prison bakery teaching inmates skills they can use to get a job. These are real, tangible examples of the Mandela Rules making a difference. So when you put it all together, what are we really talking about? It all comes down to one core belief, that nobody is beyond rights. Human dignity doesn't just stop when you walk through a prison door. And here's the bottom line. How a country runs its prisons, that's not some small side issue. It's a direct reflection of what that country really values. It tells you everything about its commitment to justice. And you know what? Getting it right is absolutely crucial if we want to build safer, more stable societies for every single one of us. Which brings us full circle, right back to Mandela's challenge at the very beginning. And that question, it's not just for politicians or governments to answer. It's for all of us. If we're judged by how we treat our most vulnerable, what's the verdict? What does it say about us? And maybe the most important question of all is, what are we going to do about it?